What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy, Big Draft Energy. We are back. We are feeling better. Week 2 is all but in the books, and it left a lot of question marks, in particular at the quarterback position this coming week, week 3. We got you guys on some of the best start options, some guys you need to definitely sit. We got you guys on some of the best tertiary DFS options, which I call sleeper picks, and we're going to throw in some juicy freaking betting props that you guys need to lock in on all of these special quarterbacks. If you guys like this video, please smash the like, and if you guys have not subscribed yet, please help make the dream come true of 2,000 subscribers come to reality. So I'm done begging. Let's talk about the first game, all right? So let's get right into the first game of the slate. We got the Thursday night football game in Buffalo. The over-under is 49.5. We got the Miami Dolphins, who are 11.5-point underdogs in this AFC East showdown. We got Tua Tagovailoa versus Josh Allen, and we'll just talk about Josh Allen and state the obvious right now, because this is as plus of a matchup as it gets for a quarterback. Miami gives up the 10th most passing yards to quarterbacks at 251 yards per game, the 8th most rushing yards to quarterbacks at 28.50 rushing yards per game, which is right in Josh Allen's wheelhouse. And they give up the most rushing touchdowns to opposing quarterbacks at 1.5 rushing TDs, and tied for second most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks at 30 fantasy points. This is as plus of a matchup for a quarterback as humanly possible. So why is Josh Allen not my QB1 this week? Because I feel like this game is going to be an absolute blowout. I feel like Miami's not going to be in this game. It's not going to be a close one. 11.5 spread is a heck of a lot for the Dolphins to overcome. We just saw what the Buffalo Bills defense did. They were outstanding, they were phenomenal, and they were suffocating Justin Fields to the point where he got hit early and often, and it resulted in an injury. Who's to say that's not going to happen to a quarterback who has that injury history into a Tagovailoa? This is as plus of a matchup for a quarterback, but I'm anticipating we're going to see Mitchell Trubisky down in the later portions of the fourth quarter, maybe even at some point in the third quarter. That's how early I'm expecting this game to be a blowout. As for Tua Tagovailoa, like, you look at the implied point total right now, it's 49.5, which is one of the highest in the NFL. And if you look at just like rushing yards allowed to for opposing quarterbacks, the Buffalo Bills allow the most rushing yards to opposing quarterbacks on average, but that is not in Tua's wheelhouse. And everywhere else, it's not an advantageous matchup, because once again, the Baltimore Ravens are going to go out and they're going to do a lot of what they just did this past week and the week prior against the Bills and the Browns, respectively. The Baltimore Ravens are going to go get theirs, and they're going to continue to put up ridiculous numbers, and that's why the numbers are so skewed against the Buffalo Bills defense. But this Buffalo Bills defense, front seven especially, they are suffocating. They are deep. Like, it's a constant, arsenal of people coming in and out, and they're all incredibly talented. So Tua, for me this week, guys, is a must sit. Josh Allen, like, you got to start him no matter what, but he's not QB1 this week for me. Next, we're going to talk about the Atlanta Falcons, who are 5-point favorites. They are visiting the Carolina Panthers. The over-under is 43.5. We got Michael Penix against Bryce Young, and I'm just going to go out and say this. Both of these defenses don't give up much production to opposing quarterbacks. Like, the Panthers give up the third least amount of fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks, and the Falcons are bottom 10 unit in terms of like allowing fantasy points. They don't give up a lot of production. But let's talk about how and why. And we'll also give you guys one tidbit that could be a very juicy prop to bet on this game, even though it's a very ugly game for quarterbacks in particular. So the reason why quarterbacks have not had to perform, and like, it's not that they're not capable and able of performing against the Carolina Panthers, it's that they haven't had to. It's because that run defense is atrocious. And if you can run the ball on a team, there's no point in risking the football in the air with 50-50 balls when you could get, 4 yards in a cloud of dust pretty much every down against the Carolina Panthers. That run defense is anemic, and they're going to continue to give up top fantasy production to opposing running backs, and quarterbacks are not going to have to throw the ball against them whatsoever. As for the Atlanta Falcons, their defense is the real deal. They are stout. They don't give up a lot of production in the air. Where they are weak is they give up the sixth most rushing yards to opposing quarterbacks at 32.5. So whatever Bryce Young's rushing yards total is this week, I'm inclined to like the over, because I feel like he's going to be running for his life with those 2 first-round rookie bookends coming after him and creating a lot of havoc for him. But for Michael Penix, I think he's like a low-end super flex quarterback, but I don't even love him at that point. You're hoping for touchdown equity, and I just don't see it happening, especially with such a dominant run game that can control the rock in any game, especially in the best possible matchup on a weekly basis. Like Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson, they're both smash starts. We're going to save that for our running back start sits. But yeah, they're both smash starts. Michael Penix, for me, he's not a top 15 quarterback this week. He's not even a top 20 quarterback this week, just simply because the matchup on the ground is too juicy for the Atlanta Falcons. As for Bryce Young, I mean, you're not every week are you going to be able to go up against an anemic defense like the Jacksonville Jaguars in week one. Even then, he struggled, but he was missing his starting left tackle. Last week, it started off terrible for him against the Arizona Cardinals. He had 2 turnovers, bonehead moves, but down the stretch, it looked really good. I just think that the Arizona Cardinals defense is not good, whereas the Atlanta Falcons defense is one of the better defenses that you should start this week. So for that, both quarterbacks are must sits for me this week. I don't even like them in DFS whatsoever. And it's just an ugly game in general. I like the rushing for Bijan. I like the rushing for Tyler Algier. I don't like either quarterback. So this next game is pretty ugly. It's gross. We got the Cincinnati Bengals, who are 3-point underdogs coming into Minnesota. The over-under is 42.5. And the reason why it's pretty ugly is because for the Cincinnati Bengals, Joe Burrow's going to be out for 3 months, it looks like. So Jake Browning stepping in there. And then anywhere between 2 to 4 weeks, we're looking at JJ McCarthy missing some time. And that really does not bode well for fantasy football. I think with the 20 plus fantasy points that we saw Jake Browning provide, even though he didn't play an entire game, he filled in late in the second quarter, I want to say, against the Jacksonville Jaguars. He still threw 3 picks. But based off of the weaponry, the arsenal, how terrible that defense is, especially against the run, and we'll get into that in the running backs video once again, Jake Browning is a viable QB2 option as a super flex. As for Carson Wentz, I don't think he's going to be any better than we've seen JJ McCarthy be. I don't think he's going to unlock many people. I think it's going to be a heck of a lot of Jordan Mason. Carson Wentz is not a start, even though it's a plus matchup for quarterbacks this week. I just think it's a really ugly game, a really gross game, and I hate that, 2 quarterbacks that we've invested heavily. Well, not me. I didn't really like Joe Burrow this year or JJ McCarthy, and I'm not taking a victory lap, but I told y'all not to draft those guys. Both of these quarterbacks are borderline sits. I think Browning is a fine DFS play and a fine QB2, especially if you have several injuries at the quarterback position in a super flex offense. As for Carson Wentz, I'm avoiding. Let your idiot teammates play that guy. Who are 7.5-point favorites coming into Cleveland. The over-under is 42.0. And we got Jordan Love, who has been absolutely phenomenal thus far, against Joe Flacco, who has been doing exactly what he thought he'd do. We thought he would do. That was a tongue twister. Nevertheless, he sucks. And so do the Cleveland Browns. And this is terrible, right? And they just gave up. The Cleveland Browns just gave up 4 passing touchdowns to Lamar Jackson in a game where Lamar Jackson didn't really have to air it out. I believe that this run defense is going to be very stout. We just saw them be outstanding against Derrick Henry. So Josh Jacobs, I mean, I like him to fall into the end zone should they get the ball down there. But I love the air attack. I feel like that's the weakness, and we're going to see Matthew Golden get unlocked. So Jordan Love is a top 10 quarterback for me. Absolutely love him in this game. I feel like the rushing game is going to be something that they're not going to be able to utilize. As for Joe Flacco, we saw Jared Goff put up 38, 40 fantasy points last week against the Chicago Bears. And in week 1, he couldn't do diddly squat against Green Bay Packers. He couldn't do anything against the Green Bay Packers. And then we saw Jaden Daniels also struggle against the Green Bay Packers. And Joe Flacco will struggle against a high school defense, let alone one of the best, if not the best defense in football. So Joe Flacco's a must sit. He's a sit. I don't like his receiving weapons. I don't like give me the unders on everything but his interceptions line. Joe Flacco's a must sit. Jordan Love's a top 10 quarterback this week. Book it. All right, so this next game has 2 quarterbacks I think are in bounce back territory. We got the Houston Texans, who are 1.5-point underdogs coming into Jacksonville. The over-under is 44.5. We got Mr. CJ Stroud against Mr. Trevor Lawrence. And listen, it's been ugly. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. The Houston Texans has been one of the biggest anomalies in football. Obviously, their offensive line stinks. It's putrid in the run game. They can't really establish. And everybody, if you guys look at the tape on the Nick Chubb rushing touchdown, I believe that Todd Bowles allowed the rushing touchdown to happen. That way they could get the ball back, which they did, and then they can march down and score, which they did, and they won the game. So congratulations to Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think CJ Stroud is going to have a uptick this week, and it's not because of anything involving the offensive line. It's not because of the Nico Collins connection being better, even though it will be better. I feel like we're not just going to see chunk plays happening all the freaking time. I think Christian Kirk comes back, and all off season reports has been Christian Kirk has been the glue guy in the slot, and he's going to take away a lot of pressure and take off a lot of pressure, which will allow them to move the ball and keep that defense off of the field as much as they have been in the past. As for Trevor Lawrence, so see, I like CJ Stroud as a starter. I like him as a bounce back. And the Jaguars just gave up 20 plus points to Jake Browning and that passing offense. So I'm looking for CJ Stroud to also have a fantastic outing this week. He's not a top 14 quarterback for me, but I do think he's in startable territory, especially with all the injuries that are happening this week. As for Trevor Lawrence, man, this guy had all the opportunity in the world in the first two matchups. But like we alluded to earlier, you don't have to really throw the ball against the Carolina Panthers. And last week just sucked. Like the inaccurate throws, the bad reads against the Cincinnati Bengals defense, who anybody and everybody and their mother could take advantage of when it comes to quarterback fantasy football production. He just didn't, right? And the connection with him and Brian Thomas Jr. is very concerning. And I want to say that the connection between him and Liam Cohen is also very concerning. But these guys are two studs. They're in a pretty decent implied point total game. When these two teams play each other, both of these quarterbacks tend to light it up. So I'm betting on Trevor Lawrence to bounce back. Hopefully he learned a little bit of humility and humbled himself and learned to listen to his coach. Because for the most part, his coach was right. Make the right reads, hit the right players, and there's nothing to talk about. And I also think that this running game is not going to be able to be established. So we're going to see Trevor Lawrence having to air it out a little bit more. I look for a lot of check down equity to the tight end. I look for a lot of check down equity, especially with the slot to Travis Hunter. And I'm looking for a couple explosives to start finally connect. And I get it. It's Derek Stingley. But I'm looking for a couple explosives to finally start connecting with Brian Thomas Jr. because Lord knows I need it. Brian Thomas Jr. is one of my buy low targets, by the way. Just an FYI, just putting that out there. So for some reason, everybody and their mother loves the Indianapolis Colts, who are 3.5 favorites coming into Tennessee. The over-under is 43.5. Everybody loves this game. They love Daniel Jones versus Cam Ward. They absolutely think that it's remarkable. I will say this. If there's no touchdown equity, I don't love Daniel Jones. And I'm looking at where the Tennessee Titans are weak. They just give up, a good amount of passing yards, 237 per game, but they don't give up a ton of touchdown production to opposing quarterbacks. It's not the most plus matchup across the board for Daniel Jones. So he's going to have to matriculate the ball down the field. And I feel like this defense is still, underrated. They just had two really, really tough matchups going against two really tough defenses that kept their offense off the field. As for Cam Ward, I'm saying wheels up in this game for Cam Ward. I like Cam Ward a heck of a lot because there's a lot of injuries to the Indianapolis Colts secondary, and I wouldn't be shocked if the Tennessee Titans win this game. I would not be shocked if the Tennessee Titans get their first W and we see the wheels fall off of the Cinderella start that has transpired thus far. So for Daniel Jones, I understand if he's your QB2 in a super flex, but that's the only area I'm starting him. Obviously, if you don't have a lot of other options because of injury in like a deeper league, I get it. You kind of have to start him, but I would say temper your expectations. I'm not expecting a heck of a lot from him this week. As for Cam Ward, wheels up. Like, let's go. It's time to show why he was the number one overall pick. I think him and Calvin Ridley are going to have a spectacular connection. I'm betting on Cam Ward to be a top 10 quarterback this week. I think it's such a plus matchup. And once again, I'm sick and tired of the Cinderella story. It's not because I hate the Indianapolis Colts, even though I hate the Indianapolis Colts. I think it's because we've just seen it be a complete trap, and it's the wheels are going to fall off, guys. The wheels are going to fall off. So Daniel Jones is, I feel like he's going to be a bust. He's a sit for me in a lot of situations, unless you need the QB help because Joe Burrow's out, or say Justin Fields misses time, and yeah, I get it. Or Carson, yeah, I mean, I'm not starting Carson Wentz over him, but you know what I mean. Like, ladies and gentlemen, we are just going to go rapid fire and finish this video. We got the Los Angeles Rams 3.5-point dogs coming into Philadelphia. The over under is 44.5. You're going to see a lot of games 44.5. Matthew Stafford versus Jalen Hurts. And no, I'm not worried about Matthew Stafford's back. What I am worried about is the Philadelphia Eagles defense and the Philadelphia Eagles passing game. It has been putrid. It has been awful. More so the passing game than the defense. The defense has kind of gotten by, but like there are a lot of gaping holes on that Philadelphia defense, especially in the secondary. I'm assuming when you miss guys like Gardner Johnson, who was essentially the glue piece in the back end of the defense, and Darius Slay, who even though he isn't as fast or as good as he once was, he still is a very savvy vet and is excellent at communicating with the younger players. They are borderline free fantasy points for opposing quarterbacks airing it out, and they're free fantasy points for wide receivers. So I love Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua, and I also love Matthew Stafford as a smash start this week. As for Jalen Hurts, the tush push is not going away anytime soon, but that passing offense needs to start clicking, and it needs to start clicking immediately because there's only so many carries we can rely on for Saquon Barkley before something catastrophic happens to him. So they need to start connecting early and often. Jalen Hurts is always a must start because of the tush push and the rushing equity. But like it's been ugly, it's been hard, and I've been somebody who's been beating the drum for Jalen Hurts all offseason. And it's just painful to watch. Like I want to see them put it all together and be a phenomenal offense. It's great that that defense sucks for fantasy because it just means that they're not sitting and just running the ball in the fourth quarter. Let's go to the next game. We got, let's just reset this. We got the Las Vegas Raiders and Geno Smith. The Raiders are 3.5 point underdogs. The over-under is 44.5. They're visiting the Washington Commanders. And as of today, looks like Jaden Daniels may play. Still up in the air. We might see Marcus Mariota, but it's definitely Geno Smith coming off of 3 interceptions versus potentially Jaden Daniels or Marcus Mariota. Needless to say, this is an okay matchup for Geno Smith. It's not a great defense for the Washington Commanders. I think Geno Smith is a fine start, especially if we're talking about it being ahead of guys in terrible matchups like Tua, ahead of Carson Wentz, who I just don't want to bet on. I think Geno Smith is a fine start and a plus matchup against a defense that has given up fantasy points and fantasy production to opposing quarterbacks thus far this season, and we've seen them do it historically. As for Jaden Daniels, if he's healthy, he's good to go. I just worry about his knee. I just generally worry about his knee. If it's Marcus Mariota, I'm not starting him. If it's Jaden Daniels, you have no choice. But temper your expectations because what makes Daniels special is his ability to evade the pass rush. And if he cannot evade the pass rush, that offensive line is going to let him down, especially with Max Crosby just being hungry and chomping at the bit. The Raiders defense is better than I wanted to give them credit for. I'll honestly say that. All right, next game. I know I got Tyrod Taylor here in the slide, but we got the New York Jets. They're 6.5 point dogs coming into Tampa. The over-under, once again, guys, is 44.5. It's an ongoing trend. I'm not sure if Justin Fields practiced or not tonight, but with the concussion, we're just going to go with caution and say Tyrod Taylor is potentially getting the start against Baker Mayfield. I'm not starting Tyrod Taylor. If it's Justin Fields, I'll give him the go. As for Baker Mayfield, wheels up. I like him as a top 12 quarterback. The dude's a dog. Dude's an absolute beast. I'm not starting Tyrod Taylor if he gets could be a decent tertiary piece and option in DFS, but give me that running game. Give me that reception upside for Bryce Hall. We'll talk about that more in our start sits for our running backs. But Tyrod Taylor, I'm not interested in. I feel like you need Justin Fields or bust. But once again, when you count out Tyrod Taylor, he's kind of going to be what's best for this team. So maybe no. I'm not going to talk myself into it. No Tyrod Taylor, Justin Fields for sure, just because of the rushing upside. But hopefully, they rest him because that is a concerning injury. All right, next game. We got the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are 1.5 point underdogs, believe it or not, coming into Foxborough against the New England Patriots. The over-under is 44.5. We got the old man, Mr. Aaron Rodgers, against the young man, Mr. Drake May. And I'll just go out and say this. The Pittsburgh Steelers defense is not what we thought it was. So if any game is a get-right game for Pittsburgh Steelers defense, it's against my Patriots because historically Pittsburgh always brings their A game against the Patriots. And Drake May, even though he was fantastic last week and borderline mid week 1, every quarterback is going to be fantastic against the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins are not a good football team, and they're a terrible defense. So, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, sure, the rushing upside's there, but TJ Watt is going to be like this is baptism under fire for left tackle Will Campbell. I think Morgan Moses is going to get beat left, right, and center in the pass. So unless they can matriculate the ball down the field and hit the check down equity, Drake May is a scary start this week, even though we've seen Pittsburgh just give up significant amounts of fantasy points. Like Sam Darnold was very startable last week, and I didn't think those words would ever come out of my mouth. He was a must sit for me last week. He proved me wrong, but it wasn't him. It was this defense. His defense is just not clicking. And it's not because the talent isn't there. It's just because it hasn't clicked. I don't know what to make of it. As for Aaron Rodgers, I feel like the only way Aaron Rodgers is a smash start is if Christian Gonzalez is out, because this defense is going to be a completely different animal with Christian Gonzalez. If Christian Gonzalez is out, then yeah, Aaron Rodgers is a smash start. But if Christian Gonzalez plays, I would be cautious. Obviously, you have to play him because of all the injuries and how he's a little bit better than everybody else. And the Patriots have given up significant amount of fantasy points to Geno Smith and Tua Tagovailoa. Both offenses are not ascending; they're both struggling. So yeah, I guess you got to start Aaron Rodgers, but I will be cautious if Christian Gonzalez is healthy because that's a completely different defense. All right, next game we got the Denver Broncos, who are 2.5-point underdogs in this AFC West showdown, coming against the Los Angeles Chargers. The over-under is 46. You got Bo Nix versus Justin Herbert. And here's the thing, right? Khalil Mack going down with that injury is very concerning. And even though, they haven't really given up a lot of production to opposing quarterbacks, they haven't had to really give up a lot of production because they went against Patrick Mahomes and Patrick Mahomes had a fine outing week one for what it's worth. But Geno Smith sucks. Let's just put that out there. I think he's slightly better than bad. And that's the best thing I could say about Geno Smith. He's slightly better than bad. But Patrick Mahomes was fine, and Patrick Mahomes didn't have Xavier Worthy for the majority of the game. It was Travis Kelce and him as a rushing threat, and I think we see Bo Nix as a rushing threat get a little bit better and a little bit more usage, and he's going to get a little bit more check down equity. This is going to be the most complete offense that they faced thus far this year circumstantially, and it sucks because Bo Nix has been struggling, even though on a weekly basis his completions prop is a smash, and it'll continue to be so. Both of these quarterbacks are must starts because of the draft capital you spent on them. But this has to be a get right game for Bo Nix because if it's not, this division is going to be owned by the Los Angeles Chargers, and a lot of teams may miss it, miss the playoffs from the AFC West. Next game, we got the New Orleans Saints, who are 7.5-point underdogs against the Seattle Seahawks. The over-under is 41.5. The game is in Seattle. We got Spencer Rattler against Sam Darnold. This one's very easy. This Seattle Seahawks defense is really good at football. That match defense that Coach McDonald has brought in, especially year two, where everybody's learned the scheme and borderline mastered the scheme. It is suffocating. It is an excellent defense. Spencer Rattler is a sit. I don't like him as a tertiary option. Sam Darnold against this New Orleans Saints defense is a smash start, and I hate saying that, but he's a smash start. Next game, we got the Arizona Cardinals, who are 1.5-point dogs coming into San Fran. The over-under is 43.5 points, and the Arizona Cardinals have been pretty bad. You got Kyler Murray against Mac Jones. Yes, the Arizona Cardinals are 2-0, and yes, their defense has been okay, but they've played against the 31st worst offense and the 32nd worst offense in Carolina most recently, and they almost blew that game against Carolina and the New Orleans Saints, who whatever, it sucks. When it comes to Mac Jones, I think this is a great matchup for Mac Jones. I love Mac Jones in this matchup as a tertiary play and as a great DFS option. I also don't mind him as a QB2 in a super flex league. As for Kyler Murray, he's one of those guys who you have to start. So yeah, I guess both of them are starts. If you have a better option than Mac Jones, then by all means, like Mac Jones is my QB 26 on the week, but you could start him. You could start him. He's my QB 22, not 26. Sorry, my bad. Next game, we got Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys, who are actually 1-point underdogs. Just putting that out there. They are 1-point underdogs coming into Chicago. The over-under is 50. This is the second highest implied point total on the week. You got Dak Prescott versus Caleb Williams. So let's get into this. Let's get into this matchup. I like both of these quarterbacks as smash starts. I think Caleb Williams is going to struggle, but when he struggles, it's just as, he doesn't complete the ball as much as he should to the right team. He's going to throw picks, but he's also going to air it out. And I think he's a startable quarterback. He's my QB 17 on the week. And Dak Prescott's in top 10 territory because this defense sucks. This defense is awful. They gave up a lot of points week 2 to Jared Goffel, and they gave up significant amount of points to a terrible quarterback in JJ McCarthy. So Dak Prescott is a great quarterback. He has 2 excellent weapons out wide with CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens, who are both startable this week. And he also has a fantastic tight end. So yeah, wheels up for Dak Prescott, and I'm okay starting Caleb Williams. This next game, Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs are 6-point favorites coming into New York. This is Sunday Night Football. The over-under is 45.0. You got Patrick Mahomes versus Russell Wilson. And listen, I'm terrified of this rush for the New York Giants, especially going after a guy who I've been beating the drum for all offseason to be the QB1 this year. And he's been balling out, even though he hasn't had a lot of supporting cast. So fingers crossed, prayers that Xavier Worthy is healthy and he's good to get the start in this game, and he gets a significant amount of usage and is the player I thought he would be. So Patrick Mahomes is a smash start. I just hope he doesn't have to run as much as he had in the past. Like the last 2 games, I'm very concerned about his health and his well-being because he's taking a lot of unnecessary hits. As for Russell Wilson, I'm not starting him this week. I understand he was elite against the Dallas Cowboys this past week, but this is not the Dallas Cowboys defense. This is a legitimate defense, and this is a get-right game, a must-win game for the Kansas City Chiefs, because if they go 0-3 and lose to the New York Giants, yikes. All right, Monday Night Football. We got the game with the highest implied point total on the week. We got, and this is a fantastic matchup, the Detroit Lions, who are 5-point underdogs coming into Baltimore. The over-under is 51.5. You got Jared Goff against Lamar Jackson. And I'm going to say this right now. Jared Goff is coming off of QB1 performance. He was absolutely special and absolutely spectacular. But I won't be surprised if he is a bottom 10 quarterback this upcoming week, because the game is outdoors and it's not the Chicago Bears that he's going against. As for Lamar Jackson, he's QB1 every single week moving forward. Like, this guy, doesn't matter if it's a good matchup, bad matchup, he's just going to ball out and continue to ball out. If you guys like the video, please smash the like. We're going to be posting all of our start sits, the rest of them very briefly. We just got to record them. So thank you guys for rocking with me. Like the video, subscribe. If you guys haven't signed up on the Patreon, get in there. If you haven't signed up on the Drafters Fantasy Sports, do so by using promo code DISCO to double your first deposit, dollar for dollar, up to $100. I appreciate you guys. Shout out to our sponsors, Better Visions, as well. Shout out to our sponsors, Bull Rush, and shout out to our sponsors, Drafters Fantasy. Until next time, which is going to be very, very soon. Peace.